So hi everybody, it's Kim here and I'm joined today by Leanne from Cranbourne Information and Support Services, and we are here to just have a chat and talk about what's been going on around Cranbourne during this time of COVID and what we as a church can do for our community. So hi Leanne, why don't you introduce yourself for us?
Hi, I'm Leanne Petrides. I'm the Executive Officer of the Cranbourne Information and Support Service, which is what you used to know us as. We've actually changed our name at our last AGM. So we're now Community Information and Support Cranbourne. Doesn't sound like a big change, but it's quite significant for us. So a lot of you will know who we are already because I know you have supported us over the years. And I guess this is one of the reasons why Kim wanted me to come along today, was to have a chat about what's been happening locally and perhaps where we're looking as we move closer and ever closer to Christmas.
So Leanne, why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you've been seeing, because obviously there's been a dramatic shift in the way people are accessing services and the services requested. So do you want to just share briefly how the pandemic has affected the services?
Sure. So for those of you who perhaps don't know, one of the most requested services that we offer is emergency relief, and we also provide a range of information, advocacy services, and we also have counselling and financial counselling services. So everything we do is free, it's confidential, and it's local. So we're a small, local-based organisation that people in our community can come to when they are struggling. The biggest service that we provide is what we call emergency relief, and that generally in normal times takes the form of food and petrol vouchers. We have an account with a local chemist so we can help people out with medication that they need, baby goods, formula, nappies, things like that. We can provide assistance with Mikey day passes, and we also have a bit of a flexible options fund, so we can do exactly what it suggests. We can be a little bit flexible with how we might support people. So in normal times we have some, pretty rigid, well, maybe not rigid is the right word, but some guidelines that help us figure out how we're going to support people. And the pandemic has changed all of that. So one of the biggest things that's changed is that we've had to close our doors to members of the public. That has been a massive deal for us because, as you can imagine, a bit like you guys, you've also had to close your doors. And what we all rely on is that people contact, is how do we connect with people? How do we support them when they're normally going through difficult times, and now even more so with the impact of the pandemic? And how do we do that without actually being able to be with them, being able to engage face to face? So we've had to, I think pivot is one of the words that's been used a lot lately. Yeah. We've had to pivot really quickly. We now do all of our phone assessments, all of our assessments by phone. We still provide the same services, so most of our volunteers are staying safe at home. They're in the older category, and we wanted to make sure that they were all okay, so we felt very strongly we couldn't ask them to come in. So we redeployed our paid staff into picking up reception and interviewing and assessment and all of those other things. So some are working from home, some are working from here. We do our assessments over the phone, and then we provide something very new to us, e-vouchers. So people can receive still supermarket vouchers and petrol vouchers for those essential goods, and they are delivered via text message or directly to their email accounts. And they're able then to use them either directly in the supermarket, or they can use them online for safer shopping if they're wanting to stay safe at home.
Awesome.
Now, counselling and financial counselling services are still also being delivered, but again, email, Zoom, Teams, Facebook, however we can be creative and deliver those services.
All right, and so let's talk Christmas. I know we're still in October, but as far as our Christmas work in the community goes, we're actually getting quite late. Normally we start this quite a bit earlier. So we were having a chat just the other day about how we as a church would still like to support people in need in our community with some physical support somehow. So what sort of things can we as a church do to help you to support those in need in our community?
Sure. Well, one of the things that unfortunately went out the window when we closed our doors was that capacity to be able to provide those physical food parcels. And Daryl and yourself and a whole range of other people from Freedom have been supporting us really strongly prior to this shutdown, if you like. And of course, last Christmas as well, in fact, a few Christmases now, I think it's been going on for, hasn't it? We've got a bit of a partnership. So we're really looking forward to opening our doors in some way to be able to provide something for Christmas. Mm-hmm. We acknowledge that it's going to look very different for us this year. So normally we have people who provide us with big hampers. So we have Blue Hills Rise Retirement Village, some of the people from there, but they're not able to do that this year. We have a toy program as well that we run, and that usually involves mums and dads being able to come in and have a look at the toys and pick them up and choose what they'd like for their kids. And we're not going to be able to do that anymore either, because clearly when we open, we're going to have to do so in a COVID safe way, like everyone. But we are hoping that we can still provide some support during that time. And our volunteers from Blue Hills Rise Retirement Village are still really keen to participate in that program, and so are our volunteers. So any donations of food that we're able to get, particularly those extra things that make Christmas a little bit special for families, are going to be something that we're going to be able to want to offer in December.
Yeah. So obviously, as a church, one of the things that we love to do every year, like you said, with that partnership, is provide those hampers. And so we actually have some lists that we're going to distribute to everybody so that they can start shopping and start collecting. And at this stage, we're just going to ask everybody to collect those things at home until the restrictions ease and things start to open up a little bit, and then we'll have a collection time, and hopefully we'll be able to do a big packing drive and work together to get some packs out. But one of the questions that we always get is obviously services like this have been known to be taken advantage of, particularly when it comes to churches. I know we've seen a lot of people who don't really need come into our church, and sometimes they do the rounds of other local churches to get the free things when they're not necessarily as much in need as the next person. How is it that you are able to move above all of that and find, because obviously we don't have the resources that you have. So can you just explain what processes you do to get them into the right hands?
Absolutely. So we actually have a really good assessment process that we follow. So if somebody comes in and just says, I want to be put on the hamper list, or I want a Christmas hamper, that's not actually enough to simply be provided with a hamper. So all of the work that we do involves assessment. All of our volunteers are very highly trained, and so when people are, nowadays phoning us, so phoning for assistance or attending for assistance, we do go through a very thorough assessment to determine exactly what the need is, how many people are in the family. We look at income, we look at expenditure, and my gut feeling is that that's going to become even more crucial this year. We know that there are people who are now on job seeker and JobKeeper payments who perhaps were receiving wages that were higher than usual. Those people will be very unused to accessing support services. So, and we're already seeing a larger percentage of new clients, first-time clients, coming in and accessing the service. So we would be giving priority to people in those sorts of positions, to people who have no income at all. So at the moment we're seeing a range of people in that position: international students, asylum seekers, people on bridging visas who receive no income because perhaps they've lost work, and they're not actually entitled to any Centrelink benefits or anything like that. So we would be very, very clear about who we are providing our services to. The assessments are fairly intense, and that's because we take the job pretty seriously. It's also not just giving a handout, it's about providing a hand up. So we always like to see what other things can we actually do to provide assistance to people when they're in need. So we do talk about not just why they're here today, but what else is going on in their lives. What else can we do? We have learned over time to figure out who can best benefit from support like a Christmas hamper and Christmas toys.
And that's what I think I really value the most. Obviously, we've worked together on a few things over the years, and one thing I really appreciate is it's not just something that you, like you said, it's not just a handout here, you need something, let me give you, but you have a full program in place to help people rise above where they are, to move out and to support themselves. And I think that's so important because, we can continue to give people handouts, or we can really change their lives. And that's, that's our heart at Freedom, is to change lives. And I think that's exactly what the type of service that you're offering does. So that I just thought I'd mention that. I really appreciate that side of things. Now, the other thing that we've talked about too with hampers that I love you guys value as well is dignity. And sometimes with Christmas hampers, I know it's easy to just fill it with no-name stuff, out-of-date things that we can buy cheaply, but it's nice sometimes to throw in something of a little more value or of a brand name. For us, we can often pick them up at the shops half price and things like that anyway. So what are some of the things that you think are particularly important just to pop in these hampers as a nice treat to really bring value and dignity to the people that are receiving them?
That's a really great point. And normally our food parcels would consist of essentials. So they would be things like, a box of breakfast cereal and some long life milk. We would do pasta or rice, pasta sauce, veggies, fruit, that sort of thing in tins. They're all cupboard food. We don't have the capacity to store fresh food and things like that. But for Christmas, we like to do those extra little things that we take for granted sometimes, but often people find hard to slip into their budget. And again, I'm thinking this year, more than any other year, it's going to be really important. Things like little jars of coffee, boxes of tea bags. It's Christmas, so why not some biscuits? And they don't have to be shortbreads. People love Tim Tams. Sometimes boxes of muesli bars for the kids. Those little extra treats that people will budget for essentials, but they won't budget for the treats. They're much, much harder to come by. Yeah. So they're just a couple of examples, but really people can be as creative as they like. I guess the stuff that we do sometimes have trouble with is, and it's not that we're not grateful because we always manage to give food away, but I suppose things, again, that we take for granted, like having flour in the house and things like that, we can't always make the assumption that people know what to do with raw ingredients and that they might have other ingredients that complement those. So, we might think about making a cake or some pancakes or something like that, but that's not always the case, So it's kind of the easy but nice stuff that gives people a bit of a feeling that I guess they've been thought about.
So maybe something like a pancake shaker rather than a bag of flour.
Yes, actually that's a really good way of looking at it. Yeah. And even, I don't know, some mince pies or, I mean, I'm a mince pie girl, so, I'm always going to be punched for those, but I can't make the assumption that everybody's going to like them.
I'm not a fan, so I'll put all mine
You're
in.
not a fan. I see you going, nah, Leanne can have those.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. So freedom for all of you that are viewing today. We just wanted to share this little bit of an interview with you so that you could see the work that. So now, what are you called again?
It's Community Information and Support Cranbourne.
Community Information and Support Cranbourne. I'm going to have to get my head around the new name now.
Yeah, I have to have it stuck here on a little sticky pad so that when I answer the phone, I remember what her new name is.
Well, it just gives our church an opportunity to see the work that you guys are doing within the community, not just for Christmas. So obviously we'll be collecting Christmas hampers, but throughout the year we try to work with you guys to partner in some of these physical needs that you might have with some of the projects you're doing, but also so that everyone is aware of the services that you offer. So if they are in need or they know of somebody in need, that they know that there's a free service available, that, you know, there's free financial counselling, there's free emergency relief, all of these things that often people don't know exist. So if you know somebody that's really struggling or in need, we will link all the details in the video description so that you can contact the organisation directly and get the help that you need, or pass on for referral the information as well.
That's fantastic. And again, thank you for the opportunity to have a chat to the congregation today, and a big thank you to all of you for not just the donations that you've provided in the past, but for the support that I know that you provide our community, the people who are most vulnerable in it, but also for the volunteers and the workers who work here as well, because I guess we have the privilege of seeing the faces of people who receive the support that you donate. You don't get that same joy, but trust me when I tell you, it really does make a difference.
Yeah. So thank you so much. We look forward to, hopefully this year will be our biggest year yet, and we'll be able to bless this community in such a crazy time, and hopefully we'll be able to make a difference in some families' lives. So thank you again, and we'll check back in with the congregation to let them know how we're going and tracking, and let them know how many we're able to contribute at the end of it all.
That sounds great. Thanks, Kim. It was lovely to speak with you again.
You too. Thank you.